What's up, guys? Hazy Games here. Got another game review here for you today, tonight, wherever you're at in the world. We're going to be going over talking about Resident Evil, the HD remastered version on Steam. Now, I know this game came out many years ago on, I believe it was PlayStation 1, and maybe Nintendo 64. This game is fairly old, but I had a lot of fun playing through this game. I had a lot of frustration playing through this game. It was an adventure, to say the least. And I kind of mean that in a good way, and I also kind of mean that in a bad way. And we'll kind of get to that a little later on. So as you can see, I have about 12 hours. That's probably pretty accurate. It probably took me about 11 to 12 hours to complete the game. I played through with Chris. I apparently missed a part in the game where I was supposed to save Barry, and I got the bad ending. But whatever, I don't care. The stupid tyrant evil monster is still out there in the world killing people, I guess. I'm not going to spend the time to go back through it. Well, I'm going to have some gameplay in the background like I usually do as we talk about things. So without further ado, going to get right into it. Graphics I give 6 out of 10. You know, this game, like I said, came out many years ago, back on PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64. And I mean, even the HD remastered, I have a 1440p monitor, and I had to play in 1080p. And so that's why the screen looks a little funny with these black edges. But yeah, I mean, graphics, as you can see, the graphics look pretty good for an old like school remaster. I thought it served the purpose. Definitely million times better than like the original, for sure. The original graphics, man, it was hard to tell half the time what you were looking at or interacting with. Sound and music was pretty good. Again, older game, so some of the sound reflects that, but I thought weapons sounded okay for the era of the game. Zombies sounded pretty good. Voice acting was pretty rough, honestly. So sound and music, I give it 6 out of 10. Thought it was okay. Thought it was, I guess, pretty typical for like a horror game, I guess. Characters and story was alright. Didn't really feel a huge like connection with any of the characters, really. But I haven't really gotten that feeling with a lot of the characters in the Resident Evil games that I've played. But I mean, I thought the characters and stories was pretty good. I mean, it's your typical Resident Evil storyline, and if you played these Resident Evil games, you know what I mean. This one was a little more, I don't know. I don't even know how to put it. I guess it was a little more, I was personally a little less interested, I guess, in this story. And I think some of that had to do with the gameplay, and we'll kind of get into that here in the next area. But I honestly think a lot of that had to do with the gameplay, just because it was very old school the way that they did some of their systems back then. But you have to realize that's just the way that they did games back in the day. So characters and story, 6 out of 10. Moving on to gameplay, already started kind of talking about some of that. Gameplay is my Gameplay is my highest score, being a 7 out of 10. But in the same instance, gameplay was also probably where I had my most frustration. So this game came out, like I said, back in PlayStation 1 time. This game, when you would draw your weapon and aim it at something, you do not have a crosshair, as you can kind of see here. So you just shoot and it kind of auto aims to the enemy, I guess you could say. But that's very frustrating, specifically when you're fighting like certain bosses or even like these dogs. It's kind of difficult to aim down and try to hit them at times. So yeah, just some of the systems, like even like the inventory was kind of annoying to me. Like it only carries so many things. I mean, I know that a lot of Resident Evil games are this way, but this first game, the OG, really drove home the point of your inventory space is the main boss. Like seriously, like I would still be walking around lost in this mansion if I did not eventually turn to a walkthrough and use a walkthrough to get through this game. Can you do it without a walkthrough? Yeah, people did it back in the day, right? Is it going to take you more than 11 to 12 hours? Probably. Could you spend 30 to 40 hours in the mansion? Probably. Could you potentially not get through the mansion? Potentially. And you might be asking yourself, if you don't know about this game, like, what do you mean you might not be able to get through the game? Well, there's limited items in this game. There's limited amount of ammo, there's limited amount of healing items, there's limited amount of save items. To save, you have to get ink ribbons for the typewriter, and there's a certain amount of ink ribbons through the map or level. Now, I haven't done any research, so I don't know if potentially the ink ribbons respawn. I personally never noticed any ink ribbons respawning, so that makes me think that there's a limited number of them, which means you have a limited number of saves, which means every time that you log in or log on to play this game and load up your save, you better be ready for a game session. You better put in 2 to 3 hours exploring this mansion before you go save again, because otherwise you might run out of saves and then you're just kind of screwed, and you have to revert back to an older save and continue on from an old save to try to move further on in the story. So I'm definitely glad that I used a walkthrough. I'm very upset that I missed the point in the story where I was supposed to save Barry to actually get the ability and opportunity to fight the last boss. So that's kind of sucks, because I do not want to go play through this game again. Movement was very weird. Even in the remastered, the movement was just kind of weird. Some of the things that you interacted with, like, would flash, so you knew to interact with them. But then there was other things that did not have any type of flash or gave you a clue to go try to use it or interact with it. So it really left me scratching my head at times when I would be like, thinking, how would I have figured that out if I didn't have the walkthrough? Like, just looking at this room or looking at this area or looking at this item or the map, I question, like, how would I have figured that out without using the walkthrough? And you will come across certain, different things that, like books or files that have, like, notes and things in them about this is, a code for over here, or this is how you make this thing or that thing. But you gotta think that some of these clues aren't in the same rooms or areas. They could be further into the mansion, and then you have to go back to that area. Which, in the grand scheme of things, on a gameplay side of thing, back when they were making this game, it does make sense that they wanted you to explore and experience the mansion and look for these clues and have engagement amongst other people that were also playing Resident Evil. Because then you could go talk with your friends or whoever and be like, hey, I figured out where to go during this time in Resident Evil, or I figured out where to get the key for this area of the mansion, or I figured out how to get this weapon, or I figured out how to fight this boss or save this NPC. So it makes sense with the time era of the game. Now that I'm older and I've experienced these games when I was younger, don't particularly care for this style, just because I don't want to spend hours and hours in this mansion. I have other games I want to experience, you know. So gameplay 7 out of 10. Bugs and cons. Trying to think of the bugs. I didn't run into any bugs, no game breaking bugs or anything like that. The only really con that I have would be the limited amount of saves. If there is really no respawn for the ink ribbons, the limited amount of saves really does kind of suck, especially for someone who's never played Resident Evil and they don't plan to use a walkthrough. You know, like, you could really spend all sorts of time in the mansion and not really get anywhere or experience anything if you keep running out of the ribbons or can't find more of the ribbons or you keep dying on your way to try to get more ribbons. So that's kind of my thoughts and my opinions on Resident Evil, guys. I thought it was a great game, good game. Definitely not my favorite Resident Evil that I've played so far. I've played Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, all the remakes of those. They're all great games. Out of those three, probably Resident Evil 3 is probably my favorite so far. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think of Resident Evil, if you've played Resident Evil, if you even think that it's a game that you want to experience with some of the old school mechanics and systems that they used. Please like, please subscribe. Much love, have a good day or night wherever you're in the world, and we will see you on the next one.